Hello and welcome. This is Dr. Warden with Hopkins Family Med and Urgent Care, and today we're going to be continuing with our nutrition aspect in terms of our protein, and I'll be breaking down the protein section of the macronutrients and the type of things that we need to know. Thank you. Again, it's Dr. Warden here from Hopkins Family Med and Urgent Care, and I will be going over the macronutrient protein as part of our nutrition section today. So let's start with protein. So on our board today, protein, as you can see, is made out of amino acids. And amino acids, we have about 20 in total. 9 of them are essential, meaning that we cannot get that from our bodies. We have to actually get that from our diet. And there's about 11 that are non-essential, meaning that the body can make those protein. So protein is in just about all functions and structural aspects of our body. It could be anywhere from the muscle, the organ, the hair, the teeth, cartilage, ligaments, antibodies, membranes, enzymes. It's just a source of energy in which we use. Did you know that breast milk contains about 5% of its total calories from protein? It does. You can find 5% in bananas. You can find 8% in white potatoes. Brown rice, for example, has 9% of protein. And then you find plant-based high protein in stuff like legumes, nuts. For example, lentils has about 36% of its calories from protein. And then when we look at green leafy veggies, half of it, mostly half of it has protein. Half of its calories is coming from protein. So it's a good thing to know. Those are some trivias. I always like to remember Popeye, and he's always eating his spinach as a kid. So yes, green leafy veggies have a good amount of its calories coming from protein. So usually the body uses about 5 to 6% of its total calories from protein. So we have to replace about 5 to 6% of what we lose in a day. So the recommended amount of protein that we should be eating in our calories should be at least 10% for the total daily calories. What happens when we go over that 10%? Usually when we start to increase protein greater than 10%, especially from animals, we increase that disease process in the body. And one of the biggest organs that it affects is the kidneys. So we will come back to that, but it's something to keep in mind when we're eating a good amount or more than that 10%, that we can affect our kidneys. Because our kidneys, even though our liver is the one that makes protein, and one of the biggest ones that it makes is albumin, but even though the liver makes protein from amino acids, it's important to note that the kidney is the one that filters and metabolizes some of that protein. And when it does that, it breaks the amino acids down. One of the byproducts is nitrogen, and nitrogen has to be excreted through the kidneys. The nitrogen waste from that protein breakdown has to be excreted through the kidneys. So it becomes a heavier load for the kidney to manage. And that's the reason why sometimes outside of having renal dysfunction, you can also find kidney stones from that nitrogen waste. So it's important that we keep in mind that percentage of protein and what happens to our body when we increase that amount of protein, especially from animal products. And it's also important to note, even though we're talking about protein, that it's an energy source, really and truly what the body uses is amino acids. And not protein. So it has to break down that protein back to amino acids. So there's this concept that when we eat protein, we should be eating a combination of it to get all our 9 essential amino acids in every meal. So there's this whole concept of protein combining to make sure that we have those 9 essential amino acids that we cannot make on our own. So another concept I wanted to go over was this AMDR. What does that mean? That means the acceptable macronutrient distribution range. Basically, for a complete diet, a range of energy source associated with reduced risk of chronic disease and also gives the body enough essential nutrients. So you basically want to find that balance. And that balance for protein is about 10 to 35%. For fats, it's about 20 to 35%, and for carbs, it's about 45 to 65%. So we always want to strike a balance in the body, and this kind of gives us the recommendation for how much we should be taking in. When we start to go over that, like I said, we start to increase the risk for disease conditions, including kidney damage. Now, the USDA has the RDA, or the recommended daily allowance, the amount of calories that is needed every day to maintain good health. And for that, it's really broken down into age. Right now, for adults greater than 18 years old, the protein recommendation is 0.8 grams per kilo per day for someone that's 18 years or older. If you're 1 to 3 years old, it is about 1.05 grams per kg per day. If you're 4 to 13, it's 0.95 grams per kilos per day. If you're 14 to 18 years old, it's 0.85 grams per kilos per day. It should also be noted that with pregnancy, that recommendation changes, and it's about 1.1 gram per kilo per day, and lactating women is about 1.3 grams per kilo per day. It should also be noted that there's also some studies and some recommendations and consideration that older adults, elderly, should have a higher amount of protein. But right now, as it stands, the protein recommendation by the USDA is about 0.8 grams per kilo per day for anyone that is above 18 years old. I do want to say that amino acids are in all sorts of stuff that we eat, including plant-based stuff that we eat. You can find it in fiber, in minerals, in vitamins, in antioxidant foods, phytochemical foods. The most important thing from this topic today is that we need to eat a variety of foods every day. We need to eat a variety of foods. We need to be conscious where we're getting our protein source from, knowing that when we go past a certain amount, we need to start worrying about disease conditions. We need to remember that the body uses about 5 to 6% of its total calories. It comes from protein, and that basically that's what we need to replace on a daily basis. So when we start eating calories, total amount of calories beyond that 10%, we start running that risk of disease conditions. One of the biggest organ in which excess protein, especially from animal products, affects is our kidneys, mainly because it has to get rid of that waste. And that waste from amino acid is the nitrogenous waste, and that can affect our kidneys. It's also important to note that even though our source of energy, protein is a source of energy, it's the amino acids in which the body uses. And there's about 20 of them 9 of them we have to get from our diet, 11 of them the body makes. It's also important to note that some trivia that I remember mentioning is that you can have a high source of protein coming from legumes. I believe I gave the example of lentils having 36% of its calories, total calories from protein. And then green leafy veggies. It's so important to remember that green leafy veggies, half of its calories are coming from protein. So do not negate plant sources of protein. It's important for you to remember that, especially when people are starting to use high quantities of animal products. Keep in mind that you want to make sure that you're checking your renal function, your kidney function on a regular basis. Those are the aspects of protein that I wanted to mention today. And just once again stating that we need to eat a variety. We need to eat a variety of protein from a variety of sources and not just think that protein is coming from our meat and eggs and chicken, but it can also come from plant-based sources. In fact, some of the plant-based sources have a significant amount of protein and does not have that large effect on our body organs like the kidney as animal products does. So we need to keep those things in mind. Again, it's Dr. Worden from Hopkins Family Med and Urgent Care, and thank you for watching. Please subscribe, review our blog, and check out our website. Thank you.